So it's that very much that stumbling block, stepping stone mentality, and it's a decision every single time. And the way you come to that, your decision may be different depending on the person, the situation.
Very good. So you might deal with the situation differently based on the relationship you have and where that other person is on the journey of faith.
Yeah.
Wow, that's good. That's really good. I think, when I hear decide here, it reminds me of some advice I've given over the years to people faced with these kind of issues. It might be a problem with your church. It might be a problem with your pastor. It could be a problem with someone in your team in the church, people you relate to in the church, where there is a difference of opinion. And so what I've often thought is there's always a risk in focusing on the negative. I get that. However, if there are things that are causing you some degree of grief, I think it's okay to write those things out and go, okay, what are my points of difference here? Because that's what's going on in the church in Rome. You've got significant points of difference around what it means to be part of the family of God ultimately.
Yep.
Like, do you need to do certain things and behave certain ways in order to be accepted in God's family? So they're very real questions. Now, we're not worried about whether a person's circumcised or not, but we have our own circumcisions that we have to deal with. And so if we can sit down and go and write those things out and go, oh, I don't like the way that, the ladies dress, or I don't like the way that the music's played, or I don't like the preacher talks about healing all the time, or pick your topic of choice, write it down. And then once you write it down, you can then begin to wrestle with it and go, is this a non-negotiable, or is this a negotiable for me?
Yeah.
And I would never tell a person that something shouldn't be a negotiable or a non-negotiable. I might have a perspective on it, but even as a pastor, it's not my right or responsibility to say to this person, you need to change your conscience about that thing and think this way. I'm asked, I might give my perspective. Even giving my perspective, I'll be slow to do that because conscience is a very real issue. And so that's okay. If that's a conscience issue for you, it doesn't have to be a conscience issue for me. I could still relate to you. But once you've qualified, is it a negotiable or a non-negotiable? Then you can bring this into practice. And I imagine all of us would find things in our community of faith where we go, I'm not so sure about that, the way the church is led, the way different things happen. And if we can do that and go, okay, then what you just said comes into practice, which is, okay, is this going to be something that I'm going to hold so close that it's going to cause me to go, I'll be better off doing something else? Or is this going to be something where I can go, this is an opportunity to turn into a stepping stone?
Yeah.
And rather than me be a stumbling block for somebody else, maybe it's a stepping stone toward unity. Because I can sit down with this person and say, hey, we don't necessarily agree on this, but I love you. And I don't want it to be a point of separation.
Yep.
Like, I'm not going to let my exercise of my freedom in this area cause you to stumble, which is what Paul is saying here.
Yep.
So, we haven't even mentioned alcohol. That's another one.
Yeah. Alcohol's huge.
Alcohol, what you watch on television, the list goes on. And so, if I've got, there's certain movies that I might watch, I might go, okay, I like my good fantasy fiction. Let's just pick a fairly neutral one. I like fantasy fiction. But I'm also aware that there are other people in my congregation who may have come out of occultic practices and might even struggle with things that I'm not going to invite them around on Saturday afternoon and say, let's watch Fellowship of the Ring together. Because that would be what Paul's saying. I'd be causing someone to stumble. I can watch it on my own.
Yep.
You have your freedom is what Paul says later on.
Yep.
But don't then use that freedom in a way that will cause someone else to stumble.
Yeah, definitely.